But you're leading it by asking me why I'm dressed like, or what I'm dressed like.
You need me to ask what you're dressed like.
I do.
You dress like this so often.
I don't dress like
that.
this.
I don't need to ask you.
When's the last time you've seen me in a scarf?
Like last week. You wear those glasses all the time.
The glasses are like the common thing. The jacket and the scarf, and you ask the question.
Why are you dressed like that?
I'm dressed like a pilot, Tristan. You want to know why?
Why?
Because this podcast is about to take off. What's up, folks? We're back with the Thicc Men Inc. podcast for the 2023 football season. And we are excited to talk about a bunch of things coming up this year. First, we're going to touch on the biggest stories of the offseason, though. Starting things off, Aaron Rodgers, my least favorite player, the man I despise the most in the NFL, is a New York Jet. And I couldn't be more excited. The Jets are where quarterbacks' careers go to die, and I am ready for his to be over. Are you ready for his to be over?
I don't know. I'm not ready for it to be over. Anytime a legend leaves the NFL, it's not a happy time. Now, as a Vikings fan, I know you're coping a little bit.
So you weren't happy when Dez Bryant left the NFL. You weren't happy.
Is Dez Bryant an NFL legend?
Well, I'm trying to think.
He was good for 3 seasons.
I'm trying to think of legends on the Cowboys in the past 25 years while you've been alive. I just can't. So Dez is about as close as I can get. Jason Witten, maybe?
DeMarcus Ware would probably be the closest you get to a Hall of Famer, potentially.
Either way, Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. They've made a bunch of moves on their offense. Their defense was great last year. And the Jets fans are very optimistic, as they should be. Personally, I could not care less. Sure, Zach Wilson was a bum, but at the end of the day, the issue was that offensive line, which went unaddressed. The Jets are still going to be a 9-10 win team. They might make it to the playoffs this year, but nothing is going to change in the grand scheme of things. You play for one more week.
Well, I think you take a look at both sides of how they've been talking about Aaron Rodgers, how they've been talking about the Jets. And all of the Jets fans are kind of psyched up because they have a quarterback. You know, they're trying to repeat the success they had with Brett Favre.
They did not have that much success with Brett
Favre. They had a little bit of success with Brett Favre. I think they went, 9-8? They won. They were middle of the. They were better than they've been with other quarterbacks in the past.
Then certain photographs emerged.
But I think they're excited with what we saw with Aaron Rodgers a couple seasons ago, and the Aaron Rodgers haters, much like yourself and other NFC North fans who he tormented for the last decade and a half. They think he's going to be terrible because with the Packers last season he wasn't great and he hasn't thrown for over 300 yards or whatever that one stat is for several games. I don't even think he hit it last season. I don't know. I could be wrong. Could look like a jackass right now. But the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Their defense is amazing. Aaron Rodgers is going to be better than he has been. I think they're going to be, you're going to laugh at me right away when I say this, but they're going to be a better version, quote unquote, than what the Packers were. I think that's what they're trying to be now. Because you take a look at their backfield, they have Breece Hall, they have Dalvin Cook. Breece Hall at his peak, his rookie season, is better than Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I think peak Breece Hall, we only saw it for 6 games, but he's better than both of them in my opinion.
That's like saying peak Josh Gordon's the best receiver in the NFL. The sample size is too small. He's coming
off a torn ACL. The sample size is small, but then you take a look at Dalvin Cook, who I'd rather have, Dalvin Cook.
Washed.
You think now he's completely washing on the Vikings.
Lead in his knees. Look at the efficiency stats.
Whatever. I like their backfield more than what the Packers have had. Garrett Wilson isn't going to be Devontae Adams, especially right away this season, but he can be that elite number 1 receiver. And with the better backfield, I think they're going to run the ball and commit to it more, especially since Aaron Rodgers seems more committed to the Jets this year than he has been over the last 3 seasons.
Oh, why? Because he hasn't been on the Joe Rogan podcast in the past offseason. Once he gets sacked 12 times in the first 2 weeks, you're going to start hearing those complaints. The Pat McAfee show, now on ESPN, thank you gambling money, is going to start hitting a little bit higher, hitting a little bit harder. The takes are going to start coming in, complaints, whining, whatnot. We know who Rodgers is. He's putting on a nice face, but at the end of the day, he's still a big old crybaby. That doesn't change by going to New York. In fact, going to New York probably makes that worse.
Well, I just think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I think they're going to be a much more functional offense than the Packers were last season, because the Packers were floundering for the first 7 weeks, then they won some games, then lost to the Lions at the end of the season. So I think the Jets offense is going to be very solid, but now, some people may think I'm riding the Jets. I think the Jets are going to be the best team in the AFC. Their record is not going to be much different than what the Packers was last season. It's going to be somewhere in that, 8 to 10, maybe 11 win range. I don't think they'll get to 11 just because of who's in the AFC. I mean, I don't think they're the best team in the division. I'm still picking the Bills because of Josh Allen. They're competing with basically the whole AFC North for a wild card spot. The Chargers will get a wild card spot. Maybe someone from the AFC South, maybe the Colts randomly have a good season, or the Titans because of Mike Vrabel, because of how weak the rest of that division is. Maybe they wind up with more wins than we expect. So I think they're going to wind up somewhere in that 10-win range. I wouldn't be shocked if they somehow miss the playoffs just because of how good the AFC is. But I think the people who are hating on Rodgers think the Jets' offense is going to be not good. I think that's a little bit of a delusional take. But then the Jets fans that think they're guaranteed to have a lot of playoff success or even, win 13 games, I think that's kind of not the smartest take either.
For the record, that entire rant was founded on a bit of false information. The Packers started 3-1 last year. They did not flounder out the gate.
They did for several weeks.
At the end of the day, you can put all the lipstick on a pig you want. You can slap all the skill players and quarterbacks on a terrible team as much as you want. If the O-line's not good, the offense isn't going to be good. It can be average, and it was horrible last year, so average would be an improvement, but it's still not going to be great. It's going to be mediocre at best. It will be worse than what the Packers was last year, and if Love is good, it's going to be worse than what they are this year. But I think we've talked about young Aaron Rodgers enough. Now we go to someone who doesn't want to be on their team as opposed to someone who's pretending to enjoy their new situation. Chris Jones wants out of Kansas City because he is not getting a contract he feels he deserves. And look, I get where both sides are coming from, but I side with the front office on this one. He's 29. He will be 30 once that contract starts really getting into effect. They're already paying Patrick Mahomes. They're already going to have to pay Travis Kelce, who's complaining to the media about his contract. And there are other star players on that team who are coming up, about to hit their contract years on the younger side, who they're going to have to pay as well. Is Chris Jones impactful? Sure, but he's not Aaron Donald level. He's not Myles Garrett level. He benefits from the Chiefs system, which opens up lanes for him. Will he be good somewhere else? I'm sure he will be, but I would not give him a record-breaking defensive lineman contract. The Chiefs' defense will probably be worse if he's not on the field, but it's still just not worth the money, in my opinion. You can replace him either in the draft or free agency at a fraction of what he wants.
Well, if I had to guess, I'd imagine the biggest thing that might be breaking the deal apart right now, there's been very little reporting. I mean, the only thing we know is that he wants upwards of $30 million and wants to break that Aaron Donald threshold, which you kind of just spoke to. But if I had to guess, I'd imagine he's probably looking for a 4-year, 5-year deal at this point. He's 29, so he's a little bit on the older side. But I think if I'm the Chiefs, I'm offering him a 2-3-year deal. Give him the average annual value that he wants, that $30 million a year. Give your team, because, who's young? Patrick Mahomes is paid. Kelce's under contract. He's also getting older, so I don't think they'd even give out a big contract to him, that big of a contract anyway.
If he threatens to hold out, he's much more impactful to that team's success than Chris Jones. And he has been complaining in the media about how he thinks he should be the highest paid tight end of all time.
He has not been complaining about that.
He has been complaining. Yes, he has.
He's only ever said he would. What I've seen from him say is that he'd rather take less money and play with the Chiefs. Just because you like his podcast doesn't mean he is. That's literally what he said on his podcast.
He has asked for more money. He was talking about contracts. I'm sorry you get your information from a biased source.
Yeah, I got the information straight from him.
AKA a biased source.
Our phones are recording right now, but you have zero clue what you're talking about.
I know exactly what I'm talking about. He wants more money, and they should pay him before they pay Jones. I also wouldn't give a defensive player a contract besides the first one of more than 4 years, just because that side of the ball is much more prone to getting injured than, say, offensive linemen or quarterbacks.
And Travis Kelce also just hyperextended his knee, so he might not even play this week on Thursday night. So then he might be without Chris Jones because he's holding out, and Travis Kelce is Thursday, and the Lions might be looking at an upset. Anyway, I think the Chiefs should probably pay him. They should get that 2 to 3 year deal, go for a Super Bowl over the next 2 to 3 seasons. Isaiah's wrong when he's talking about Travis. I think he should be the highest paid tight end, but Isaiah's wrong about him wanting to be the highest paid tight end. And when it comes to Chris Jones, if they do wind up trading him, he liked a tweet saying about a trade going to the Cowboys. If I'm the Cowboys, you have the potential to create possibly one of the best defensive lines in recent memory, putting Chris Jones and Micah Parsons on the same D-line. Granted, you're going to have to pay Micah next season, so you'd have 2 D-linemen getting paid $30 million a year plus. But just watching those two play next to each other, it seems like something Jerry would definitely do.
Well, Micah's contract isn't going to be up until year 5, so they might be able to avoid 1 year of paying both those two at the same time, but 2 $30 million D linemen would be rather steep. Speaking of teams, though, which do not like paying their players, the Arizona Cardinals appear to be cutting ties with pretty much everyone. Kyler Murray's on the pup list. They're letting go free agents. They're not re-signing their guys. They're trading people for pennies on the dollar. Isaiah Simmons most notably. We'll talk about him a little bit later. But that raises the question, are they openly tanking for that number 1 overall pick, tanking for Caleb Williams? And if they do manage to get that pick, what do they do with it? I'm not a big Kyler Murray guy. I think the questions about work ethic are concerning. I think the injuries this early in his career, the amount he's had, are concerning. I think given what he's being paid currently, I would rather have Caleb Williams on a rookie deal over him. I get Kyler Murray's transformative, but you can be transformative in September, October, and November all you want. The one playoff game we saw of him, it was terrible. He can't make it to the playoffs, and if he makes it to the playoffs, he can't make it healthy. I would rather have Caleb than him. I know you are probably going to say they trade the package, or at least talk about them trading it for more first-round capital down the line. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but it's time for Kyler Murray to be gone. If this team is committed to the tank and leaves him on the disabled list, the PUP list all year, I think it'd be the right decision.
Well, with the different moves they've been making, it's convinced me more and more that it looks like they may be targeting a new quarterback and a new start for the Cardinals. And it makes me wonder if Jonathan Gannon has just been hired as another one of those, was it Steve Wilkes on the Cardinals where he's there for a year and then get fired the next year?
Best thing I can think of is the Lovie Smith with the Texans thing.
Well, it did happen with the Cardinals where he got like one season and then he was fired. So it feels like if they are going in that direction, that's where they're going to go. I mean, trading away Isaiah Simmons obviously didn't have the best career with the Cardinals. He didn't necessarily fully live up to that first round, or what is he, like the 11th pick overall, something like that. Somewhere high in the first round, didn't necessarily live up to that hype. But when you look at linebackers/safeties, they have their worst years with the Cardinals, then go ball out somewhere else. I mean, Hassan Reddick is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And on the Cardinals, they're using him as an off-ball linebacker for the first 3 years of his career. And they have Isaiah Simmons, who apparently wants to rush the passer more, and they're using him as an off-ball linebacker in safety. But when it comes to them tanking for Caleb Williams, I mean, they drafted hopefully franchise left tackle in Paris Johnson. I know you weren't that high on him at least a couple months ago. I could see it going either way. I think if it's Caleb Williams, they're going to draft Caleb Williams if they do have the first overall pick. If they start Kyler Murray this season, I don't think they'll wind up with the first overall pick because you think Kyler's good enough to win them 2, maybe 3 games. It's not like a Colt situation when they were sucking for luck and they had no one out there.
Yeah, but the issue with that is the race for the first overall pick isn't going to be like a 1-2 win team this year because the Rams have Stafford and Kupp. They're not going to be as bad as everyone seems to think they are. And the Buccaneers have a really good receiving core, some pieces of a functional line. And Baker Mayfield, it's kind of, I'm 50-50 on him. He could be functional again. He could just be horrible. So I don't think it's going to be a 1-win, 2-win team getting that pick this year. But if they're in that 4 to 5 win range, and it's also worth noting, you cannot make players starting for you tank, but at the same time, you can set your team up for failure from a front office standpoint, and that is what's happened here.
Yeah, I mean, the receivers, virtually non-existent. I mean, they're still rolling Zach Ertz out there. They have a rookie offensive tackle, which who knows, we've seen rookie offensive tackles be horrible the past few years in their first season, especially through those first 6 weeks or so.
Particularly if they play in New York.
Particularly if they play in New York. I mean, Ikwonu for the Panthers also struggled in the first half of the season mightily and, came on more towards the end of the season. But I don't even know what the conclusion to this segment is.
You take a hardline stance. Are they going to intentionally tank or not?
I don't think they're going to intentionally tank, but I do think they may make some moves that lead to them losing more than
that is intentionally tanking.
No, I don't think but I don't think they're going to be like, Kyler Murray, you're not starting for us, and I don't think they're going to start Josh Dobbs for 17 games.
They might. If Josh Dobbs balls out one of the 4 weeks he gets to start, that should be enough of a motivator to then say,
you think he's going to win the locker room?
We're concerned with Kyler Murray's health. We're going to let him stay on the sideline in a sports bra and let it work itself out. Dobbs, keep going at it. Congratulations, you put up 300 yards on the Colts. Good for you. Anyway, on to some predictions for this upcoming year. First off, the MVP. I got 2 schools of thought on this one. One, I really wanted to not be a quarterback, so I'll throw out Derrick Henry. I think those legs aren't quite as dead as everyone would like you to believe. And that Titans passing attack is so otherworldly bad, so putrescent, so sickening, that they may just run him to the ground. If he puts up a 2,000-yard season again and gets the Titans to the playoffs, which is a possibility if he stays healthy, you know what he was on pace for last year before he started getting dinged up. You know he was on pace for 2 years ago before he started getting dinged up. He's a beast. I could see him getting the MVP nod, particularly if there's not a clear-cut quarterback and there's a bunch of other guys like Hurts, Allen, and Burrow taking votes away from each other. I don't think it's going to be Mahomes. If I had to pick a quarterback, though, it would be Josh Allen, just because they don't like giving it to the same person back-to-back unless it's Aaron Rodgers. I think Joe Burrow isn't as good as he's hyped up to be, and the Bengals aren't going to win more than 11 games, which hurts the MVP case. And I think the spotlight being on Allen, in terms of the Madden cover, in terms of the expectations around him and his competition in the AFC East, I think he gets it done. He gets 12, 13 wins based off the strength of his arm and the strength of his legs alone. So I'll say probably Josh Allen, but I kind of hope it's Derrick Henry.
Well, you're wrong about both.
Oh, I'm wrong about
you're
both.
Wrong. You're very wrong. It's not.
Is this the hot? Oh, it's gonna be Patrick Mahomes.
It's gonna be Patrick Mahomes. Yep. You. I mean, you knew what I was gonna say. With how good he was last season, he's going to do it again. With how good the Chiefs are, they're gonna push towards another Super Bowl. I won't give my Super Bowl prediction yet. Not necessarily going to be the Chiefs. But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to win a back-to-back MVP. As long as he's not taking quarterback sneaks and messing up his knee and being out for 2 weeks, he's going to throw 40 touchdowns again. He's going to hit 4,500 yards at least passing. Their receiving core is deep. Isaiah Pacheco is coming on as a running back. He's by far the best player. He's by far the best player in the NFL. He's going for another. He's going
Isaiah
for a back-to-back.
Pacheco is the best player in the NFL?
No, Patrick Mahomes is. I'm just saying he has a talented offense around him. He's got an established running back now. He has a deep wide receiver room. There's not necessarily one superstar there. And then he has Travis Kelce. And their offensive line is really solid.
Incorrect. I was waiting for you to bring that up. They lost their best offensive lineman to the Bengals. That unit's looking sorry. They're trying to replace him with one of the Jaguars tackles. That O-line, besides Creed Humphrey, I don't know, man. That is the hindering factor to me. That's why I didn't pick one. I'm not going to pick the Vegas favorite to win MVP. That's boring and lame. Boo.
Well, their guards are very good.
Congratulations. Defensive ends don't go up against the guards. Patrick Mahomes is going to be running for his life, and that will hinder his production somewhat. Having a good offensive line, or at least a good tackle, is a huge part to a quarterback's success.
They have a good offensive line. You think I'm pretty sure it's Cam Robinson, right? Who they signed?
Mid Robinson. No, man. It's just not going to work. You have your heart set on it being Mahomes.
This guy thinks Travis Kelce is demanding to be the highest paid tight end in the NFL.
Keep
in mind, I think he should be, but he's not demanding that.
He has said multiple times he would like to be the highest paid tight end.
He has never said that.
I'm sorry you like the Kelce
How much
brothers
money do you want to bet
podcast.
on that?
Travis Kelce's contract.
Travis, you want to bet me $13 or $14 million?
You don't even know what his contract is. You're pulling that number out.
How much money is he getting
This
paid?
scarf is worth more than your entire fit, and you're trying to talk to me about money. On to the Defensive Player of the Year. And I think this is the Micah Parsons season. It's year 3. We've seen what he's done the first 2 years. We know the media
You're wrong
attention.
again.
You know, I have a baseball bat, a trash can, and a Post-it note, and I'm going to throw at least one of them at you by the time this podcast is done. The way you talk will determine which one it is. But year 3, Micah Parsons got more defensive coverage in the secondary. Those cornerbacks are looking scary. The safety's very solid. The acquisition of Stephon Gilmore, pretty good move. I think that given that extra half second he will get from the cornerbacks, he might put up a 20-sack season. There is a chance he goes after Watt's record. He could even get that high. He'll be phenomenal, though.
Well, guess what? You're wrong again. A New York football giant is winning
this the
Defensive Player
Isaiah
of the Year.
Simmons Defensive
It is
Player
not
of the
the
Year?
Isaiah Simmons
It's
Defensive Player of the Year.
Lawrence.
It is the best nose tackle in recent memory at rushing the passer. He led all nose tackles last season with quarterback pressures, but I'm pretty sure it was either somewhere from 25 to the low 30s. He rushes the passer as a 350-pound nose tackle, and he stuffs the run. So I think he put up 12, 11 sacks last season. He's going to put up 16 sacks this year, especially with the improvements the Giants made in the secondary. You just talked about the Cowboys making improvements in their secondary. And Dexter Lawrence, he's going to hit 16 sacks. He's going to stuff the run. He's going to have a Chris Jones-like year, except he's a nose tackle.
You realize that he didn't have double-digit sacks last year, right?
I'm pretty sure he had 10 or 11.
Flashed up on the screen. Congratulations, I've given you some editorial work.
How do you know?
'Cause
How many sacks did he have?
I'm going to say closer to 6 and after that 8 range. I'm more familiar with your favorite
You think he
players'
had 6.5
football.
sacks?
I am more familiar with your favorite players' football reference page than you are.
You're wrong. It's definitely not. It's higher than 6.5.
See, don't you like?
You've been so boastfully wrong twice now. You don't know. What are you looking up?
I was gonna look up the Football Reference. I should have got my tablet out here to make this easier.
Yeah, but we're just gonna have to wait and see who looks stupid. Probably, it might be me now, but.
Yeah, it might be you. Oh, but you had 10 sacks. You would have let me know a long time ago if an interior defensive lineman for the Giants had 10 sacks. Don't let that all-pro team go to your head. Now you're not feeling too confident. I see that look on your face. Pan to him, camera. Go to his camera. Look at that man squirm right there. He is not comfortable.
I can't believe the Travis Kelce take.
He is considering right now editing this out. That's what's going on in his head.
I mean, you're welcome to edit it.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just telling you that's what's going on.
He doesn't edit. I mean, I think you know which TikToks he edits.
Okay, I'm gonna say that you're getting a little bit insecure. You're throwing the ad hominems just because you don't know that Dexter Lawrence Football Reference page. You know, technically, Dexter Lawrence and I have shared the same field as opponents before. Didn't go particularly well for me. Thankfully, I never had to actually play against him because he would have murdered me, but I was there. Furman versus Clemson, 2018. They massacred us. Shook his hand after the game. Biggest hand I've ever seen in my life. You haven't met Dexter Lawrence. You don't know what he's about. You ain't know nothing. Double negative, man. On to who we think's going to the Super Bowl. Now, the boring, safe, conservative answer would be to say the Kansas City Chiefs are going back yet again, and I just can't buy into it. There is no sport in which it is harder to repeat than football. I think you'd agree with that. It's easier to get back there if you've got a great baseball team. It's very easy if you've got a great basketball team. But it is hard to make it to the Super Bowl in back-to-back years. It's even hard to do what the Chiefs have done and make it so many times in recent
We get it. Come on.
You know, you talked for like 4 minutes about You know, I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be a better person.
Take your glasses off now?
I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying not to be mean. You went on this long, drawn-out rant about the Jets to start this podcast off. And
I went on it, okay.
I'm trying to display my logic here. Just because you don't operate with any doesn't mean none of us do.
Display it.
Display my logic? All right. So, I think it's pretty obvious it's not going to be any team from the AFC South. The Jaguars still aren't that good defensively, and their O-line has some questions. AFC East, kind of a bloodbath. I don't think it's going to be any team from that either. The injuries will mount up for the Bills' defense, going to hold them back in. I've just said I don't think it's going to be the Chiefs. Doesn't mean I don't think it's not going to be any team from the AFC West. And the AFC North is wide open. So I'll give 2 picks. It's going to be either the Chargers or the Ravens. If the Ravens are healthy throughout the year, which they very rarely are, they will represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. If they get injured and banked up and the Chargers stay healthy, the Chargers are going to the Super Bowl. Justin Herbert is going to show you he is no social media quarterback.
Well, I think the easy pick, like you said, is the Chiefs. I think that's most people like, I won't be shocked if the Chiefs get back there. If everyone stays healthy, if Chris Jones, goes back at least by week 8, then he's there for the playoff run. And if Travis Kelce's healthy and Mahomes is healthy, they always have a Super Bowl shot. But that's the easy pick. So I, much like Isaiah, are going to give 2 picks here. And it's kind of annoying because you picked one of my second picks. I think it's also the Ravens' year. It feels like this is where they have like a now 1 to 3 year window-ish of a Super Bowl window with the players they currently have on the roster, with Mark Andrews being in his prime, Lamar Jackson being Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers being on the roster, Rashad Bateman, if he stays healthy, I think he can be a 700-yard, 800-yard receiver, maybe even more. They have a good offensive line.
You're not going to mention Odell?
They have Odell. I mean, they have solid receivers. But I said 1 to 3 year window. He may be gone after this season.
I know, man, but you're just the premier Odell Glazer. I thought you'd give him
I'm not an Odell Glazer. I'm an Odell realist. There's a difference.
Who is your other pick?
The Chiefs.
Oh, boo.
You want me to give 3? We're just throwing 3 darts. I can give 3 if you want me to give 3.
Tell me why the Colts are winning the Super Bowl.
Why the Colts are winning the Super Bowl? It's very possible. I mean, we saw Josh Allen did he go to the playoffs in his rookie season? No. His second season. But he was still very bad as a passer. Yes, that is right. It's going to be very much like Josh Allen in his second season. I think there's a potential for the Colts offense to be very solid, although not having Jonathan Taylor really does hurt them. But they do have Michael Pittman, big body receiver to throw to. They have Josh Downs, who I don't think had the best preseason, did he? Alec Pierce is going to have a great year, though. I think Alec Pierce is going to put up at least 800 yards, may crack 1,000 with Anthony Richardson. All go balls, maybe some deep posts in there. Offensive line,
If you're relying on a white boy to run go routes, I got some bad news for you.
Well, he runs a 4.4.
Don't look like a 4.4. He got that
Hands are a little bit more
reverse field
questionable.
speed.
But Anthony Richardson running the rock, he may have 800, 900, 1,300 rushing yards. Alec Pierce may have 1,300%. There's no way the Colts make a Super Bowl push.
You're a coward. You have to, if you're going to justify that, you go say the Colts have the best passing attack in the league. Richardson breaks out. Alec Pierce develops a pair of hands. Michael Pittman goes for 2K. You don't go subtle and dainty. Oh, well, the passing attack.
Well, you're the one who asked me, and I was trying to give something, and there's not really any, right now, there's not a logical, sound argument you can make for this Colts being Super Bowl contenders.
They could just run 18 fumble rooskies in a row to start their year with the pulling guard picking it up and taking it to the house each time.
Well, Quentin Nelson also needs to kind of return to form. He wasn't his best self
Are you
last
kidding me?
year.
This is his form. He's been terrible the past 2 years. This is what Quentin Nelson is. You have been fooled by a rookie season and a hot mic on a pole where he yelled. Quentin Nelson ain't him. Anyway, on over to the NFC. Do we give 2 or do we just give 1 here?
The NFC, all the teams are horrible, so you got to pick one.
Yeah,
Or there's less good teams.
There are 3 good teams, and I'm not picking any of them. It's the Vikings' year. If it's ever going to be the Vikings' year, it is this year. Final year of Kirk Cousins' contract. He's got the mustache. He's got the receiving core now. The great white hope has been exiled to North Carolina. We've upgraded with Addison, a man capable of going very fast. We know that from his speeding ticket. Justin Jefferson, best receiver in football. Dalvin Cook, the plague on the backfield, the least efficient running back in sports, gone. Alexander Madison's going for 1,800 yards. And I just might say the defense, borderline top 10. Brian Flores, known defensive wizard. We are blitzing every play. Who cares if our cornerbacks can't cover? We're sending 12-man shot. The ref is coming at the opposing quarterback with our defense. Good luck, pal. We're running field goal block.
Well, once again, I think the Eagles are probably another easy pick here with how good their roster is, but I'm not going to pick them. I don't really think they're going to go back, and I don't think the 49ers are going to be that team. 49ers fans, they're always a bit delusional. They think they're going to make a deep playoff run. They believe in the roster that Kyle Shanahan has built. They believe in Brock Purdy, or maybe they believe they've drank the Kool-Aid and they think Sam Darnold is going to waltz in there and all of a sudden be a top-tier quarterback. That's not the case. The 49ers aren't going to be that team. I don't think it's going to be anyone from the NFC North. As much as I like Justin Fields, the rest of the roster is not there quite yet. The Vikings, if they made a Super Bowl push, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened. I don't think the Giants roster is there yet to win that many playoff games successfully. I would be shocked if the Cowboys make a Super Bowl push this year. Could be their year, like you said in the
Here
TikTok.
come the Atlanta Falcons.
It's not going to be the Falcons. It's not going to be an NFC South team. It is going to be Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. It is Geno's year to finally, after all those years of people making fun of him for how bad he was on the Jets, playing one game of football for the New York Giants, sitting all those years behind Russ, letting him cook. He's got the receiver core now. The defense has different young pieces on it, improving it. The rookie offensive tackles will be in year 2. They'll be improved. They have 2 very good running backs. He's got weapons all over the field, like I already said, and he is making that super. They're going to win the NFC West. They may not be the 1 seed. I don't think they're going to be the 1 seed, but they're going to push towards the Super Bowl. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl and then get slaughtered by whoever the AFC rolls out there.
So little faith in the NFC teams. I prefer the NFC to the AFC. Yeah. Aside from my favorite team resigning, they're just a lot more wholesome characters, more relatable quarterbacks. I feel closer to Dak Prescott than I do to Josh Allen, both from a physical standpoint and from an athletic standpoint. And I'll be honest, Dak Prescott is probably closer to me athletically than he is to Josh Allen athletically. Certainly closer to me athletically than he is to Lamar athletically.
Okay.
So you think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl is what I'm getting out of this, because you said the Seahawks are going to get slaughtered by the AFC representative.
I think so.
The Vikings are winning the Super Bowl, man. They're going to beat up on the Chargers. Or the Ravens. It could be the Purple Bowl. The Purple Bowl would be something every fan enjoys. Anyway.
Good for you.
Good for us. Good for America.